Welcome. Welcome to week 2 of MPAI 600 here at Georgetown University School of Continuing Studies Applied Intelligence Program. I think we had a great first week. I know it was compressed, and I know you're coming off your last class, and we had a lot to do this week, but I think everyone pretty much hit the ground running, and that's good. And one thing I hope you learned being in this program for a few weeks is that you're cramming in a full semester worth of stuff in a half semester. So you've got to, you can't fall behind. There's a lot of work. It's not a slow pace. So keep that in mind going forward. So announcements, again, keep up the effort. I think I saw for the most part discussion boards were good. I know people at the beginning of class are really high, and then effort tends to drop off. So please keep cognizant of that going forward. The discussion, I had a couple of questions, 500 words total. Sometimes we're going to have two discussions, so it'll be about 500 words for each one. If you're a little bit short, that's fine. But, and then your responses could be 150 to 200 words. I'm not going to count the responses, word by word. I just want to see that you can think about what a classmate said and agree, disagree, and write an analysis, a short analysis on that. So keep that in mind going forward. So current events, just like you do current events, I'll do current events. And obviously COVID-19 is the biggest current event. I mean, I know it's been the biggest current event for the last 7 months, but I think we hit a spike yesterday, our all-time high, and I think we even increased that today on Saturday. So it's not going away. It's not going to go away with the vaccine whenever the vaccine comes out, because it's going to take months to distribute it and to get everyone vaccinated at a high enough rate to break the transmission cycles. So that's going to be a key point. But one thing to ask yourself as we pursue this course is where did the intelligence failure occur? Or was it an intelligence failure? I'll let you decide. But in this past week, we talked about requirements, collection, analysis, disseminate to policymakers, the whole spectrum of the intelligence cycle. But one thing to look at is when we're looking at COVID-19 is, did that intelligence cycle failure? Was there a failure along the chain? Did intelligence have a good understanding of what was going on in Wuhan province? And was that communicated to policymakers? And did the policymakers commit actions that could have mitigated this, I'll just say it, a catastrophe going forward? I'll let you decide on what was the primary failure, but I want you to start thinking about that going forward. And there's been a few documentaries on COVID-19. I haven't assigned any because it's still relatively new, but I might do that later on in the course. And there's a few documentaries that have come out just in the past few weeks that, that are I think relevant to answering that question. And actually, let me back up on that. One of the intelligence failures that was brought up in one of the documentaries that I saw recently was even back in October. So if the virus started to be on people's radar screens in January, back in October, open source imagery was looking at Wuhan province, and they were looking at the comparison between hospital stays in 2019 and 2018, or the parking lots of those hospitals in October of 2019 versus October 2018, and they saw the parking lots were a lot more full. And again, this was commercial imagery that was available to everybody. And they determined that the virus probably was there. And it might not have been COVID. It might have been thought at the time as pneumonia or something along those lines. But they thought it might have been something back in October. And if it did happen in October in Wuhan, I guarantee you there were people in the United States that were carrying and transmitting COVID before even the new year. So the virus probably has taken a holder route than we might think. So review of last week, again, we had the UBL capture, and we looked at all the cross-queuing of the intelligence disciplines. And I think you see this in success. We're going to talk about failures later on, but this is a critical success story going forward. And we talked about SIGINT, Really, this was the connecting the signals trace from the courier to the location in Abbottabad, which helped actually fixate the location. We had Humit, arguably, the original source of the courier and who the courier was given under interrogation in Guantanamo Bay by a source. Whether it was gotten from enhanced interrogation techniques or whether you would have gotten that information from normal interrogation techniques, I don't know if we'll ever know. But that was Humit. Interrogation was the original source of that. And then GeoInt was used, again, you saw that in the documentary, where how many families are there in that compound in Abbottabad? Does it line up with how many families that Osama bin Laden has? They were able to surveil the site. They were able to use GeoInt and provide it to the Navy SEALs, which wasn't in the documentary, but they need that type of detail to conduct an operation in the Abbottabad, and GeoInt was a critical point. So again, you see the cross-cue of intelligence across the board. And then you see, again, the intelligence cycle. I talked about it. You have the traditional intelligence cycle. You have what Lowenthal tells you to do, or Lowenthal's. You had what I said was the intelligence cycle. And there's different, again, versions of it, but they tend to have the same kind of focus going forward. So next week 2, collection strategy. So what I want you to do is pause me and go to the other link that I sent. But as you go through the collection strategy, it's very well written and it's very detailed, and that was good. The one thing that I want you to be cognizant of is it is policy focused. It puts the policy first and not the threat first. And you'll understand that when you go through the example I gave. So go ahead and do that now. Okay, so welcome back. And as I mentioned at the beginning, that was very well written. That's kind of the structure I want you to go. I just want the requirements to be threat focused, because he's saying, does the Colorado human smuggling trafficking do this and can it accomplish that? And that's all fine. But again, I want you to kind of focus on making it threat based. How are smugglers bringing in sex trafficking workers into the Denver area? That's more threat based than is our Denver PD sex traffic unit picking up human smuggling. That's you're putting the cart before the horse there. And if you have any questions on that, please don't hesitate to contact me. So again, collection strategy: develop requirements, apply the intelligence disciplines, analyze pitfalls in the collection cycle. I really want you to be creative, to put pen to paper and try and come up with an intelligence viewpoint on whatever problem you're going to focus. And if you do the UBL raid, you're more than welcome to do that again. You just have to do it from the perspective of the beforehand, before UBL is captured. And I would expect a little bit more detail if you're going to do the UBL raid, as opposed to if you're going to come up with another scenario by yourself. And I'll probably grade you a little bit harder, knowing that we covered the UBL raid in class. So again, I'm looking for an intelligence perspective on whatever issue, whether it's China in the South China Sea, gang members, MS-13 members in Fairfax County, and everything kind of in between. So there's always an intelligence perspective on any national security or local law enforcement issue. That's what I'm looking for you to bring out in this collection strategy. So readings, the Lowenthal, Chapter 6, the Intelligence Tradecraft Primer, that's part of your readings. And then the documentaries, the PBS Frontline, the Confessions. I want you, in your discussion board this week, to actually take the lessons from the Tradecraft Primer and apply it to the Confessions. The Tradecraft Primer will talk about the psychology of intel, which some of you might have taken that class already. But in the PBS Frontline, you will see people commit those intel fallacies or psychological traps going forward. So that's what I'm looking for this week. I look forward to your questions and issues. And if there's an issue, let me know.